Okay, welcome everyone. Today we have Mike Cardamone with us. Did I say that correctly, Mike?
Yeah, it's all good.
Great.
It's pronounced all sorts of ways these days.
So I saw you on Alex Zach, actually,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I loved the how like easygoing and funny. I loved the humor that you brought to this subject. And but also how you were, you're obviously able to be serious about it too. And so I don't know where how this is gonna flow. Some of my friends are like, "Oh my god, I love this guy. He's hilarious."
Oh, nice.
So maybe they're expecting it to be like funny, but yeah, it's a serious subject at the same time, Shivambu. And I was just curious, like how long have you been practicing this, and how was it introduced to you? How did you discover it?
I'm going on 5 years, a little over 5 years now. So like right in the heat of 2020, heating up, I just went deep into all kinds of health stuff, and yeah, so it came across my path that way. A friend of mine put me onto it, who who was just kind of entertaining the idea of doing it, and informed me of it. And yeah, like everyone else, I thought it was batshit insane. But it turns out, things are weirder than we thought in terms of how the reality works, and what's quote unquote good and bad for us and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, well, it's 3 years for me, almost to the day, just recently. And when I first discovered it, I was like, no way.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
you got to be kidding me. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? That actually makes sense. Like, we really are divinely created. And so it kind of, yeah, I was like, wow, if I was going to create something, like if I was going to create the body, I would make it self-sustaining. Why not?
Yeah, you just make an infinite liquid loop available
Yeah.
to clean out and keep going, and yeah, it does make
Well,
sense in a really strange way.
yeah. And I started like really, I was like gung ho. Like I
I was the
didn't,
same way.
I wasn't like a drop on the hand, and
Nah, I
you know,
started chugging it right away. I tried because initially when I got into it, like the idea that really stuck to me was just
Mhm.
the idea of that kind of self-sustaining loop of like, because like I said, it was in the heat of things warming up, so it was like, like I was still in like a prep mindset where it was like, and then
Mm,
that avenue was attractive to me, and that like, oh, I could just be on this and be good. Like that's a weight off my shoulders in terms of things I need, right? Um, so
yeah,
yeah,
like a
that's yeah,
liberating experience, eh?
right, yeah.
Like you
But
feel
yes,
this like euphoric freedom kind of feeling, like you're
exactly,
like,
yeah.
wow.
Right, because
Yeah.
especially the energy of people who are stuck in that like food prepping zone where it's like, they got like a vat, a 5 gallon drum of some like strange powder of like what, and it's yeah, just leaving all that behind it feels good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Yeah,
point of that was
totally.
that I started right away going hard and like trying to do days at a time right away, and so yeah, I jumped right into it too. To your point,
Yeah. So, what's some of your favorite protocols, or do you have one, or like what's sort of your, yeah, what's your favorite?
that's tough to say. I mean, I guess the most just by volume would be drinking, just because I use that as water. So no matter what else is going on, that's I'm kind of just looping all the way through for the most part and saving some. Um, but I mean, I do all kinds of stuff. I guess maybe second most might be enemas, honestly. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and
that's
then
sort of one of my favorites. I had such a crazy, my first experience with the enema was like a trip. I was really like, I
go
mean,
on.
I want to say high, but
Yeah,
it's like something else happened there, and I was just like, okay, this
especially the
is,
age, like you like feel it in your feet, like tingling, like oh, something, we got something
yeah,
going on here.
yeah. And did you have any like health concerns, like what when you first started? That that did you see any changes in your Yeah, just what was the most impactful on your health?
So I didn't have any like chronic issues that were like really bothering me that I was trying to address. It was more of a kind of a holistic thing.
Hmm.
In retrospect, like the things that I was kind of struggling with that I wasn't really, well, I was aware of them, but like had quote unquote, I've done away with a lot of these labels, but so-called insomnia, of
Mm,
like really having trouble sleeping. Um, that was kind of like the main thing because especially at that time I was working a day job and just my life was a lot different. A lot of stress, a lot of that kind of stuff. um, and so that is kind of when I look back the main thing that kind of dissipated right away. Um, but yeah, it's I mean and I kind of discussed this on Alex show, but it's more of like a holistic kind of just upgrade in all facets of life, especially 5 years later I look back and it's like a lot has changed.
yeah, this has definitely been the most impactful. I don't know if you want to call it like modality or however that
Right.
I've engaged with. I had radial shortening. Like I tore the blood vessels off the lunate bone in both of my wrists, and they shortened my radius bone in my arm, in both my arms, to like relieve the pressure there. So I've had like chronic wrist pain
Wait,
for.
you said they shortened it, so like you got some kind of
Yeah, I
operation?
went to the doc. You know what's crazy to me is that people will still go and like have surgery before trying something like
Oh yeah,
this.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
crazy.
wild to me.
It's a
And
crazy mindset. Yeah,
I know, and I look back at that and I'm just like, I can't believe that I was like game, for
I
that.
know. Open me up, shorten my bones.
Yeah, let's saw it in half.
Yeah,
Like,
crazy.
I know. And so, I mean, it helped, but not as much as Shivambu did. And when I started with a 3 day fast, and that's what I noticed most was like I had all this movement back in my wrists, and I was just
Mm,
like, what is this? And I didn't want to say anything because I was like, okay, is this just today? And
yeah,
like,
don't
it's
jinx it.
not a lasting. But yeah, I really, yes. So yeah, you shift into a totally different mindset, like you say. And I've done away with a lot of the labels that they've given these things, like what they called was going on with my wrists. And I was like kind of sad that I didn't know about it earlier.
I know.
And now I've just got this big drive to like tell all the younger people.
I know.
Cause you imagine if you're a kid and you were doing this, it would be so.
Yeah, life will be completely different.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, and it's funny with that mindset too, like in terms of where we were at and where unfortunately most people are still at in the lens of the urine, where it's like how these components of the urine are used by pharmaceutical companies, and so people will be um, for example, like they get horse urine and urine from women for hormone treatment, porta potty extraction, that kind of stuff, right? um, and so most people, when you discuss working with, drinking, whatever, utilizing their own urine, find it absolutely disgusting. But if Neutrogena makes a face cream out of yak piss, people are on YouTube doing beauty routines with it, scrubbing it on their face. So it's just crazy. It's all backwards.
Yeah, and also like they'll eat it too, like not just put it on their skin, but like to. I'm basically vegetarian now, but I mean, like I don't have a problem with anything actually, but it's just funny to me that people will go and buy like the meat on the shelf that's been there for God knows how long, and like that's blood, right? Like there's blood in the meat, and
Yeah,
they'll cook that and they'll eat that, but like touching
blood
their own
product.
is just like too much for them.
Yeah, it is crazy. It
But
is crazy. And I've had experiences where I've been walking through grocery stores deep into a urine fast and walking by like the deli counter or like seeing like a bunch of meat wrapped in plastic and just kind of like and like to your point of like feeling high, being in a kind of like almost a hallucinogenic kind of state, and getting hit with the realization of this is the norm here of having all of this kind of dead flesh wrapped in plastic. It's like this is really weird.
It's so surreal, hey?
Yeah,
And that's actually kind of what happened to me. Like I felt like I was sometimes when I'm fasting and doing like when you it's like the more you put in you, like the more surreal the world gets. It's like
yeah,
sometimes I feel like I'm walking around in a Salvador Dali painting. I'm just like, is this really happening?
yeah. Especially the grocery store. It's
Yeah.
bizarro world in there. It's
Yeah,
really
there's so
nuts.
much in there that's just not like aisles and aisles and aisles of
Yeah, of candy
yeah.
corn flavored Oreos.
Yeah, you can just stand somewhere and like pick up a package of something and start reading the label and it's almost comical to think that I was putting stuff like that into my body. Like,
Yeah, and
anyway,
then also
wow.
when I talk to someone who's like, I like for example, I'm still close with friends I've had since childhood, um, who we just have a good relationship in terms of I can say anything and they'll think it's crazy, but they'll entertain it. We'll have fun with it. But yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a lot of friends like from that far back, but yeah, I've lost a few friends because of this actually.
Yeah.
Like they're just like no. I mean, maybe they'll come back, but
Yeah. Oh well. So my point is sorry, I forgot my point of bringing that up. Even it was to say that we forget having now for been engaging with this medicine, right, and seeing the benefits, and it's just we don't even think about how normal it is. But for people who are still in the grocery store zone, we have to keep in mind that their urine is coming out like it smells bad. It's brown. It's like you know what I mean. Like it's not something that they're really trying to get to know. So I lose sight of that sometimes because mine's great. Mine's it tastes like coconut water or something.
I know, right? And I just like your diet changes so much when you start this because especially if your first contact with it is fairly positive, like the taste is really positive, then it's like, oh, okay, like it's not bad. Like it doesn't taste bad. But then when you eat something and it does taste bad, then you're like, okay, scratch that item off the list
Yeah,
or find something else that'll, make the loop taste better. And so
yeah.
my diet has really gotten
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Same, completely
cleaned
different.
right up. Totally
Yeah,
different.
yeah. And those are good learning lessons too, because like when I first started practicing this, I was still on a standard American diet, as are almost everyone, or standard
Yeah.
Canadian, but Western world. Um, and so yeah, I remember like engaging with it still in that process and like having like corned beef hash or something crazy and then drinking the urine and be like, oh shit, this is crazy. So those are
Totally.
good lessons where it's like, all right, that's not it for me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes when I go off the rails, I like make a point of, really like consuming
Reap what you
that,
sow. Yeah.
right. I'm like, okay, now here's your lesson.
Yeah, you gotta. But the thing is, as you know, like regardless of the taste, that's exactly what you need. Like you're gonna be shitting that out way faster now. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gonna pull it right out.
Yeah. This is the thing. Hey. And then I feel like sometimes, when I feel like I've overindulged in something, then I'll do like I'll drink that one and I'll also do like an aged enema.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it's like you're like recovered.
yeah,
You're the recovery time from the bad food is super fast.
yeah. What I also do in that same situation is because I have a bunch of aged of varying degrees. Put like a shot of that in, and then like dilute it a little bit with some distilled water, for like 8 ounces or something, and then just chug that down. And that's like, yeah, it's a magnet.
Yeah, distilled water is magical, hey.
Yeah, it
When
really is.
that was the other big change for me. I had no idea that like I believed that distilled water was, bad for you. So when I started doing Shivambu and then learned about distilled water and started getting that into me, I was blown away by how next level my plasma was tasting, and also like cooking with it, cooking with distilled water. Like the food just tastes so clean, and you could actually taste what you were cooking and not all of this bad water bad water taste. It's like
Yeah.
when you're cooking with water, if you boiled the water that you're cooking with and just tasted that water, it would
And it's
not
another one of
yummy.
those obvious things that, in retrospect we can look at with some perspective, where it's like, because my impression of distilled water was that you used it, in an iron, or in
Right.
some kind of machinery. But just logically, if you think about that, the reason that is because if you use the water from the tap, your iron would be gunked up like your intestines are now, with all sorts of disgusting things. So you have to use distilled water to keep the machinery clean, and it's the same principle in theory.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Like your our bodies are basically like batteries.
Yeah,
So yeah, it makes sense. And then when I learned about the salt, this is like even more touchy subject for people. For some people, like the I don't eat salt anymore. I don't know about.
yeah, people get real triggered about that, right?
Holy, they really love their salt.
They love salt. Yeah,
And I did too. Like
same.
I can totally, when I first went off salt, I had like withdrawal symptoms, like I was coming off of a hard drug or something, like
It
which
is a
I've
hard
never
drug.
yeah. And then I looked it up and I'm like, "Oh my God, if this actually falls like meets criteria to be classified as a drug, like it
Yeah,
satisfies a lot of those." And that was my experience. I was like, "No, I have to have salt. My body needs salt."
yeah, well, yeah. People were under that impression.
And then the longer I would go without it, all of this inflammation that I had actually in my legs went away. My
Yeah,
cankles. I
yeah.
had like,
Using the ankles and the feet. Yeah,
yeah. And then like you go off these things for a while and then you reintroduce them into your body again. And it's like, bang, the inflammation in my legs would just come back like almost within 24 hours. I was so surprised
yeah.
by that.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up because I had an experience of fasting for a couple weeks. Um, so I was always looping, but I was also having juice and stuff. Um, but then, anyway, breaking it with a cooked meal that had salt in it. And the next morning, I woke up and my face, like, it looked like I got into a bar fight, like at a biker bar, and like 20 convicts beat the shit out of me. I had like swollen eyes just from having a salt meal. So it's, again, those experiences are instrumental in the process of correcting and learning and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love like now when I do a fast, like, well, it's like sort of, it's not really fasting. It's more like I'll fast for the day and then I'll have like one meal at in the evening that's small, and I'll choose like one item, like a cooked meal like buckwheat. Like I'll and then I'll add spices and whatever to that. But I'll only pick one sort of like grain or one kind of like item so that I can really feel what that impact of that is on the plasma. And that's been kind of fun to sort of like I don't like oats, but I'll have buckwheat. And lentils are okay, but a lot of the beans I don't, they don't taste good the second time around.
A
And so
lot
you
of
just
stuff is
like,
that's the case.
just, yeah. And then herbal teas, I love that. Like to
Same.
taste that over. And we started using our evolved plasma, our aged Shivambu for doing like tinctures. So we'll take like our haritaki or moringa powder and we'll put it in the aged and let it sit for like 4 hours. And all of the, you can, it's like, all of the flavor from whatever you're putting in there, just go, your Shivambu just draws that up. And then I like strain that and I drink that, which has been really fun to play around with.
That sounds pretty good. I might get into that. I'll have to
Yeah,
report
and
back.
Yeah, and actually one of my favorite ones is cayenne. I'll kind of have one of those
I was
on the
thinking
go
that
all
when
the
you were talking
time.
about it.
And the other one I love is turmeric and black pepper. Actually, if you do black pepper just on its own, it's really cool because you feel like the whole and fresh rosemary. I tried that one too, which was also really good. It's like you taste the plant in a deeper way. Like you feel like all of the flavor profile is just crazy.
That's
How
super
how
interesting.
how deep it goes, and I feel like you're getting more out of the whatever ingredient you're putting in there, like you're because it's in your Shivambu, like it's your Shivambu is like accepting it. So
Yeah,
when
it
you
brings
put
it
it
into
into
resonance
your
with you. Yeah.
body's like absorbs it more easily because it's actually held in the Shivambu.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
So
sense. Kind of brings it into coherence with you.
yeah. And
Yeah,
it kind
that's
of, we
super
were like,
interesting.
maybe this is what the Dharma Tantra was talking about in all their little recipes in
It does
there.
discuss like honey and stuff, right? In there?
Yeah. And Heritaki was one of the ones that was like repeated the most. And actually, that's the one the Buddha, the medicine Buddha, is holding that plant in his hand, the Heritaki.
Very
And so
interesting.
that's sort of like a big one that we sort of take daily. It's a nice grounding herb that one of the panacea herbs that sort of adaptogens that apparently fix everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to report back. That's super interesting. And you also just made me realize that I have a bias against black pepper. I think because it's paired with salt in our consciousness in terms of like a salt shaker and a pepper shaker, that like I would have never thought to explore black pepper.
Yeah, I love black pepper is one of my favorites actually. I did combine things and make like combo tinctures, but that didn't turn out so well. So now I usually do like one or like two, maybe three different things in one go, but usually I keep them separate and then I just blend them how I want after.
Yeah, that's cool.
When I'm doing my morning tonic, I usually have like my fresh Shivambu and then I'll add whatever aged one flavors into that I want.
Yeah, that's interesting. The closest thing I've done to that, I would say, is I've used these flower essences. There's a company called Lotus Way, which makes um, really beautiful flower essences of different kinds of flowers, and kind of puts them into oils that are really pure. And I've, put a couple drops into just fresh urine and drank that, which sounds similar. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably even more intense given that the aged is soaking in it.
Yeah, that's actually I do that as well. I have a little bit of that flower extract. So I put a few drops of that
Yeah.
in there as well. I like that. I did do with my age. I did do some flower, like actually put the flowers in the Shivambu, but I didn't drink those. Mostly use those for because I wash my hair with.
Yeah, me
Like,
too.
there's nothing I don't do. Shivambu really replaced a lot of things in my.
I'm right there with you. It's like a hobby of mine now to like if I find myself in a store to like go down the aisle of like cosmetics and be like, "Oh, this is all gone. This is great."
Yeah. Yeah, it's my toothpaste, it's my deodorant, it's my shampoo,
Yeah,
I mean,
mouthwash.
I
Yeah,
wash the
there you go.
floor with it, like
Yeah,
do our
counters.
laundry
Yeah.
with it. It pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Yeah, there's a lot of some people in the chat here. Bev, she's been saying the same thing. I can't believe I'm doing this myself, but I can say it definitely changed where I was back in December. It's amazing how quickly that you feel the impact of this. Yeah, Santos Bonacci. She's just saying Santos Bonacci. That's actually who I heard about this through watching an interview with Amanda Vollmer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, oh, actually, she said something about flat Earth, Amanda Vollmer.
Uh-huh.
And she said it so casually. I was like, okay, maybe I need to check that out. And then it was like an avalanche of information, and I found Santos Benacci, and actually that's why I started doing enemas, is because I heard him talk about enemas, and I was like, okay, what can we use in the house to make this happen?
Oh, you mean
So
like a hose, like a garden hose?
yeah, actually I used a condiment bottle, an
That's
empty
hilarious.
condiment bottle, because
It's very
yeah,
resourceful.
yeah, I was determined. We were living in a little farmhouse at the time, so we were far away from anywhere to go shopping to get anything. So I just had to, I was so motivated. I was determined to find something in my premise that would work.
Yeah. Well, they used to use like gourds, like long pumpkins and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever you got, duct tape a garden hose together, whatever. Get stuff funneling up there.
Yeah. But yeah, enema is definitely like one of my favorites. And snorting, actually. Up
Yeah.
the nose. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like the dust blows out the back of your head when you do that one. It's pretty
Yeah, I mean, you can
powerful.
feel stuff like melting off of your brain. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. I like doing that. I like putting my head upside down, and then I have like a dropper full of aged, and I'll just drop it up there while I'm upside down, and it's crazy.
It's a trip, hey? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
You know that
The,
show Hot Ones, where they eat really
no.
hot buffalo
Oh,
wings?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to do a parody that's called Snot Ones, and
Oh my
it's like a
God.
gauntlet of aged urine sinus cleansing, and like I'm crying, and it's basically the same thing, the same reactions they get from eating dumbass hot sauce.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious. That'd
Yeah,
be funny to do a few people doing it at the same time. And just like all these different
yeah,
reactions or
everyone's
like a
crying.
montage. Yeah. I did one in the shower the other day like that, like the aged up the nose, and it was like oh my gosh, it was like so crazy the
Yeah,
feeling that you
you
get
can
from that.
see clearly again. Now
Yeah.
that's something I'm working on, because I've had poor eyesight for pretty much my whole life. So I've been trying to yeah, rinse the eyes out and the age with the in the eyes. That's really something.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually do a blend for that, or like, I don't know, it's intense.
It
The
is. It
eyes.
stings. It's
Or what if
sensitive
I'm in the
tissue.
shower and I'm like doing aged on my face, I'll just like blink a bunch of times and like let it kind of slowly get in. But yeah, one of my friends uses a like a soup spoon full, and then he actually holds that like and opens his
Well,
so
they
that his
have
eyeball is like immersed in the liquid.
yeah. Well, they have and I have one, the eye wash cups. But I like
Oh,
that he's using a soup spoon.
yeah,
Again, just being resourceful. But yeah, the eye
exactly.
cups are much better because there's like a depth to it, and
Yeah,
it's shaped like your eye. And it's a little glass
right.
cup, and you fill it up, and then you
That's
can.
like, actually I should just get an eye now that I'm back in the land of the living. I should get one of those. It's probably really
Yeah,
you
it's nice because it's shaped like your eye, so it kind of suctions in, and then you can move your eye around and do exercises and stuff,
right. Well, that's a good idea.
and it
Another
reaches
little.
like all of it. Because
Mm-hmm.
what I find is when I do the drops, it'll get definitely that corner, but like when you wash it with the eye cup and you can move it around, you can feel it kind of
Yeah,
massaging in all the other areas.
yeah. The one thing that I haven't experienced that I really want to is the 100% pure Shivambu bath. Like have enough, like a barrel that I can get inside that's just Shivambu.
Yeah, it's like a womb.
Yeah.
There,
I did a Shivambu bath, but it was like, like 6 liters of Shivambu in a big barrel that I got into. So you could really feel the Shivambu. And I had like it's funny you say womb because I had a crazy experience, like rebirth
Yeah.
experience. I was bawling, like just crazy emotional release that happened from that. It's not just like physical, the Shivambu. There's like an very big on the emotional detoxing and healing part for me. And
Oh
like
yeah.
a spiritual, like, yeah, very much has turned into all jokes aside, very much has turned into like a spiritual experience for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's unavoidable. That's unavoidable. Yeah, and I don't know even how to go about explaining that, right? I think maybe part of it is like the information that's stored in it, um, that you're washing out and rinsing out memories in that way, and trapped emotions and that kind of stuff, and getting that river of life flowing. It's fractal, and it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual. All of those things are connected. Um, and yeah, we're just starting to learn about this. I mean, right, with Fiona's work, and even with like someone like Veda Austin, like the emotion and information that's in water, and our water, and this whole thing is water, and we're talking about going back into a womb surrounded by water, and then what happens in terms of a healing experiences when you're surrounded like that. um Super intense. So like we're just getting started here. We're just undoing all the things we've been talking about and stepping into this new period.
Yeah, totally. I've been reading this medical qigong series. It's like 5 megabooks. I'm only on the first one still, but they talk about how there are dreams. They come from the water, like they come from our liver and our kidneys, and that's where our dream center is actually stored in our waters. So yeah, by no surprise. And that was another thing. When I started drinking Shivambu, I used to dream that I could fly, like when I was younger, and those dreams came back, like in that 3 day fast, that first 3 day fast that I did. My flight dreams returned, and the dreams just have been they more like reality, like another reality. Like it's not. It's just changed
Sometimes
so much.
sometimes more real than this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that happened to me too. Because I brought up sleeping in general and that whole kind of realm. um I started dreaming again when I started this process, because for a long time I wasn't even dreaming at all, for whatever reason. Smoked a lot of weed, whatever it was. um
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that connection
Cannabis
happened again.
definitely puts a damper on dreaming.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that connection was restored. So to the point you're making.
Yeah. Paul, one of the viewers, has a question here. Are you using aged straight up in the eyes?
I have put age drops in my eyes. It's gonna burn, so just be
Yeah.
prepared for that. Um, for the
When you
eyes, the
use
eyes
your
are very
cup,
sensitive.
yeah, when you use your cup, are you using more like fresh or blend?
Usually that's fresh, because it's very, compared to the age, very, warming and soothing
Mm-hmm.
and gentle. So it
Mm-hmm.
just feels nice.
Yeah.
The aged is gonna burn. I mean, the eyes are very sensitive,
Yeah.
tissues. So yeah, you can put aged in there, but yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna feel it,
Be
which is
ready.
okay. But just
Yeah.
heads up.
Snort it first.
I do, yeah, yeah. I do
You'll know
want
all
to.
about the power then.
Oh yeah, I do want to experiment with aged in my eyes moving forward, though. For like, even like, because I've heard stories of people using swimming goggles and put
Yeah.
um, and like I said, my eyesight is probably the weakest part of my physical body, honestly. So I do want to increase that, for sure. Um, but mostly fresh in the eyes, is to answer this gentleman's question.
Yeah. Yeah, and age plasma has different amounts of fire for sure. I find that, or Olivia and I find that when we shake up our age plasma as it's aging, we shake it once in a while, and then we have it all in sealed bottles just 'cause it's more practical for us.
Yeah, same.
And then we crack them once in a while and just let that air exchange happen. And if the more we do that, and the more we siphon off the top and leave the discard the sediment, and then as that Shivambu ages, it's not so, it has like less burning, less fire. It's like there's less ammonia
Yeah,
or something
that makes
in it.
sense.
Yeah.
So that's a good tip. Yeah. So you discard the sediment.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been practicing. I've done both. Like I did no, well, actually I did a big filtering kick, and I was really loving how it felt on my body and in my body. And then we were traveling and I couldn't do the filtering anymore, and we were in a place where I didn't have the gear
Yeah.
to filter, and I just wasn't filtering anymore, and I was like, wow, this is like, it's more gritty, and I don't know, it just didn't, the odor was more pungent, and as it aged, and so we just went back to siphoning and filtering.
Okay.
So
So you got the lab equipment working.
kinda.
It's
The
necessary.
siphoning is good. It's really um yeah, UT is a gateway to breatharianism. I really, that's what when I first started doing it, I was like, this is it. This is how they're doing it. This is how the monks are living without it. So, or like, living up in the mountains on their 1 grain of rice. I'm like, yeah, 1 grain of rice and looping.
Yeah, I think there's some truth in that for sure. That's
Yeah.
another huge thing. We were talking about diet and how that's changed. Just the need slowly decreases and decreases and decreases naturally,
Yeah.
at a pace that's comfortable for you. Because like I'm at the point right now where my norm is just liquids. So like I don't even
Wow.
think about like I try not to even use for my own benefit like terms like fasting or like counting days of I've been this thing,
Right.
because it just becomes this kind of head game. So just my
Yes.
kind of normal is liquids, and that's like not a stretch, meaning I'm not like going through detox reactions. Like I can kind of sustain on liquids right now, and I've that's to the point of it's kind of a weird bridge that we're walking.
Yeah. What kind of so do you do sometimes? I find also that my body can transition from from liquids only or from plasma only from a few days of doing that to a cooked, well, it's my diet. Like I'm not going out and having a hamburger, but I can transition to cooked food pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. And because we have the toolkit also to deal with it, to assimilate it, to get rid of it, and yeah, it's a much smoother process. Yeah.
Yeah. And going out, it's really interesting to go out and be around people, and just how much is revolves around food.
Oh,
Like
it's
we
all
just had
anyone thinks about.
Easter. Yeah, hey. And when you go out to see people and it's just like food, food, food. We went out a few days ago here to visit some people, and just in the car ride, just from our 1 hour car ride to get there and back, and we stopped like 4 times at convenience stores for people to get something that they felt like they wanted to have en route to the event that also had food. It was just like,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like people, you'll realize as you get on this journey, and then for example, you go out to eat with people. Half the time they're eating the meal, planning the next meal. Like life is just a succession of meals for people, and it's wild. We keep inventing more meals. Like we had three was bad enough. Then someone invented brunch, which we combine meals now. Taco Bell invented a fourth meal, which is between midnight and morning. So we got it. I looked this up. In like formal dining, like like the etiquette, um, you can have up to 21 courses in a meal. It's insane. It's madness we're in.
yeah. And at the holidays, like people die of heart attack from just overconsumption. It's just
Yeah,
wild.
people just their pancreases are exploding. We can't be any more stuffed than we are as, collectively.
Yeah. So, Marilyn here, what kinds of liquids do you consume?
I
Oh,
consume by volume mostly urine.
mm-hmm.
And then I would say juices. I would say herbal
What's your
teas.
what's your favorite juice at the
Um,
moment? I'm sure this changes
at the moment,
seasonally.
it's oranges.
Mm,
I'm
I love
waiting
orange juice.
for melon season to come up because just the overall best, in my opinion, is watermelon juice for a variety of reasons. I like the taste of it, but it's also like just the easiest to juice. Like you get a big watermelon and now you have a ton of juice. Like it's just, um,
The watermelon plasma is yummy. I
yeah,
love coconut plasma, but it's not really. You have
I
to
don't
be
have
living
fresh
in the right
coconut
place for
access.
that.
Yeah,
But watermelon, yeah, that's an easy.
yeah,
That's a
watermelon's great.
yeah.
I love apple juice. Um, but yeah, all kinds. A good tip is like when we're talking about, I look at these food items and salt as a drug. And so when you're getting rid of it in your life, you have withdrawals and you have a relationship to it that we've been kind of referring to. But the point I'm getting at is celery juice is a good kind of
Mm,
salt withdrawal cheat
mm,
satisfaction kind of thing to keep it pushing without falling into the traps. Um, and so and then as far as other liquids, sometimes it's kind of a spectrum on where a solid and a liquid is. So like sometimes I'll have smoothies and stuff, which technically you digest. So it's all yeah, I don't know. I
yeah.
don't pay attention to the rules as much.
No, I was saying that too. I'm like, oh, can we change the name? Is there another like rather than fasting?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And then my crutch, especially in the winter, because I try to stay local and raw. Um, just for full disclosure, my crutch is still sometimes raw goat milk, which is kind of for
Mm,
me. I will feel better um, staying quote unquote liquid and kind of making a concession in terms of having milk than like
mm-hmm,
having a meal and having to digest that. Like the
mm-hmm,
in terms of the energy spent for what my body is composed of right now, that
mm-hmm.
keeps me kind of on track more to make the concession on raw milk than to have a meal, let's say. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but it is a crutch that I don't want to spend the rest of my life on, but I am still enjoying raw goat milk from time to time.
I would definitely be signing up for that if I had that available to me. I love.
Yeah,
I was a cheese maker before I kind of got into this. I don't really do it anymore, but I would make it from kefir, though.
yeah.
Actually, I would ferment the milk myself with the kefir grains, and then I would use that to. That was how I made my cheese. It was really like farm cheese. Actually, there was I didn't no heating, no.
Right.
I didn't add anything to it. It was just the fermented milk, and then this process of separating the by straining it.
Yeah,
But
and
goat was one of my favorite, and water buffalo was one of my
ooh,
other.
interesting. I never had that.
Because I was living in Asia at the time, so I had access to organic buffalo milk, and that was delicious.
Yeah,
I
and
do miss that a
that's the
bit.
big point on that is the pasteurization, obviously.
Right.
Raw only, for sure.
Yeah. 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 Yummy. Yeah, my liquids are pretty much well, we do some, I do also now just started back into water kefir. So I take the water kefir grains and I use them to ferment my apple juice or
Oh,
whatever
interesting.
juice. I don't, we're very nomadic still at the moment. So I don't have like a blender and a juicer and all these things wherever we're staying. It just depends on where we're at. But
Yeah,
we do have a water distiller, which has been like running.
I know. Mine's always going. Yeah.
And I use that to wash my stuff too. Like if I'm having grapes, especially, I'll do
Same.
distilled water and aged Shivambu. Shivambu is so beautiful for washing food. Have you tried that yet?
I haven't actually, because I've only been using distilled water by itself, so maybe I'll mix it in there.
Yeah, you'll see a difference. And if I'm soaking something too, if I'm like soaking lentils or I'm soaking my buckwheat, I'll sometimes use a bit of fresh, or sometimes I'll put a splash of aged in there. And we even were like, okay, like maybe we can run the distiller less if we use some of our like super nice clear plasma to do our cooking with. So sometimes I'll even cook with that,
That makes
like
sense.
cook.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
use it for teas, and I was never a big coffee guy, but every once in a while I'll have one, but I'll make sure that it's made with my urine, and there's a huge difference in the way my body processes it. Because most coffee that I have feels like a hard drug to me, like in terms of a stimulant, like not in a good way, like a jittery, shitty meth stimulant. Um, but with if it's brewed in my urine, it's completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then when you use those for, if you want to do a coffee enema, if you use the one that's brewed in
There you
your
go.
plasma, yeah, super nice. Yeah, I love that. We got off. I've said this so many times now, but I'm saying that I'm off coffee. Coffee is like really been a tough one for me. I don't know how many times I've said I'm off coffee, but yeah,
Yeah, it comes and
it's a
goes. These are all
yeah,
drugs. These are all drugs.
it's hardcore. That's probably one of like that's up there with salt for sure, like for the
Oh yeah.
intensity of it. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
it's
look
just
at
the
like if you
cleaner.
go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead.
If you
No.
drive by a Starbucks and see lines of, literally like wrapped around the building of people, like people, if things shut down, people are gonna flip out if they don't have coffee. People are gonna be in rough shape.
Yeah, no kidding. That is that's a and it's so intense. It's another intense one to get off of. Like the symptoms are so man.
But the urine is a huge help in breaking the habits with these things, and even the symptoms, quote unquote, of getting rid of them, are significantly lessened with this.
Absolutely. They really, Shivambu makes it attainable, easily
Yeah,
attainable,
for
really,
sure.
in a way. And it almost, things actually, they almost seem to happen on their own. It's like the more I was drinking coffee, the less I was drinking my plasma.
Mm.
And so the more I drank my plasma, now I'm mixing all these words plasma, urine, Shivambu, they're all the same. But the more I would notice that I'm like, oh, I'm drinking coffee because I'm not actually drinking more of my own waters. So when I would ramp up my own waters, then I would naturally wouldn't the desire for the coffee would like fade. I would drink less and less and less.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
And then enemas, the coffee enemas was another way to not drink it. Like you can still feel the impact that you want from the caffeine without having it to go through your entire digestive system. Like really bothered my stomach actually, the coffee. Well,
Yeah,
bothered a lot of other things too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did coffee enemas for a while, and they've just been replaced by urine enemas for me. Um,
Yeah, same here.
yeah.
But for a while it was like a thing for a little while there.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, by all means, if people get a benefit from it. But I mean, I had experiences where I maybe like brewed it too long or something, and like the overload through the ass is so strange. Like I was like shaking, like I had to like lay down. Like it was like it messed me up. I was like, I don't know, but it was probably user error to be fair.
Yeah, this one Marilyn has the same sort of experience as you. I feel like I'm
Yeah,
on crack
exactly.
when I drink coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that. No,
and we still keep
and
doing it again.
I
Like
know.
they just
Yeah. a few nights ago, well, actually, okay, last night, I had oats again, and I had such a bad stomach ache. I'm like, why am I doing
Yeah,
this to myself? Like,
totally.
okay. But the more clean I get, the more energy I have, and the better I feel. And it's funny when you get on a slide, hey, and you're just like
Oh, it's so tricky.
feeling,
It's so slippery.
and then you're feeling worse and worse and worse, and you're like, oh my God, it's, and then that feeling you had, like when you were eating super clean for a while, it's like so euphoric, and you're like, when you're in that lower spot, it's like feels so far away, right? But it really isn't. It's really
Yeah.
amazing if you just throw yourself into the to your practice, how quickly you'll feel better.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I always like to be transparent about that. Like when we talk about these things, like I've slipped up hundreds and hundreds of
Oh
times.
gosh.
It's crazy. And to the point, like as soon as you open that door, you can slide into having 3 meals a day, and you're like, what is going on here? How did this happen?
Totally.
Yeah, it's tricky. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
Or
I, I
your
am
one
not on a
meal a
pedestal.
day gets bigger every day.
Right? Yeah, 21 courses, the same meal. Just keep it. No, this is still one meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous
Oh, fun.
because the
What?
mixing is what happens. Like when you start like cooking stuff and getting like having meals again. What I find is like when I start mixing things together, that's like a gateway to gluttony. Like I even find it
Mm,
like for example with like as I was saying, my kind of like indulgence right now is milk. If I start putting like a teaspoon of maple syrup in milk, that like turns off a switch. Like if as soon as I start mixing things, it's like, oh, now I can drink a gallon of this and feel like shit.
yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah. The whole gluttony part of it is really something crazy. When you make a, and then when I make a meal, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make something small, and then it like just grows and grows and grows, and you add more, and there, oh well, this needs to go in there, and next thing you know, you have your 21 course meal.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game they got us in.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly we addict. And actually, that was one of my first long cleanses that I did. I'm not going to call it a fast. I did this long cleanse, like liquids only, for 36 days before Shivambu, and I learned so much from that. I was still actually cooking for my family. I wasn't eating anything cooked. I wasn't even tasting anything. I was like really strict with
Just the
myself.
smell though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the thing that we're all addicted to. We're all addicts. There is no one that isn't, like, for all intents purposes, there is no one that's not an addict. Like, and when I started to eat again, it was like an avalanche, you know?
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
started with one thing and then it was just like, whew, like the ship has left the dock. The train is gone from the station. It's roaring down the track. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's another like kind of trigger point is for me is like the mixing of things and also just the act of chewing. Like once the doors open on like, okay, we're chewing things now, we might as well chew everything you got.
yeah. Or if I
Yeah.
have something and I'm like, well, I already had that, so I may as well.
Yeah, it's still the same day, so I might as
Yeah.
well round out this day. Tomorrow is a new day. Yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. The drug thing is interesting though, because I don't actually like I don't make a differentiation between like food and what we call drugs anymore. Like I think there's enough they're the same in terms of it affects your blood, right? Like I was researching like food in general, and I was reading this like mainstream book by a New York Times journalist called Salt, Sugar, and Fat, and it was this journalist who just kind of did a deep dive into like the most obvious of food transgressions, right? Like corporations and food scientists and how they scientifically make things to be addicting and that kind of stuff. But he interviewed all sorts of people, and he interviewed this one, some like professor or scientist at the University of Cincinnati, and they were talking about how when it's salt and sugar, there's really no difference in terms of how the blood treats it between drugs and food. And this guy was saying that he thinks that because anything that you ingest alters your blood, and the blood is always trying to be, in a state of homeostasis, that his theory was that if there was a way, he's very mainstream. So his theory was that if there was a way that we could be just hooked up to an IV drip and to keep the blood in homeostasis, that the body would be most happy in that state where you're not ingesting any drugs to throw it off. And that is looping urine. You're just keeping that, your blood, nothing's going crazy, and then the drugs, throw it off in all sorts of varying degrees. And yeah, you can balance it out with this.
Yeah, the speaking of looping, the longest I've gone just only looping is 9 days, and then it's just yeah, I felt like I needed something like on an energetic level there. I mean, this is a while ago now. It's interesting how the body changes. Like, I'm sure I should do a looping only just to see the difference. Again, because it's been a while since I've done that, like for longer like that. But I started having moringa tea with that, and it really helped my energy at the time. So there's like sort of little hacks that you can do to stay kind of, on your cleanse or whatever you want to call it, like in that more fasting state.
Yeah,
But
those small
yeah,
concessions to keep the train on the right track instead of going off on a
yeah,
binge or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
right.
Yeah, and to that point, like, we're so accustomed to having all of these inputs that when everything's cleared out and you're just ingesting yourself and everything else is quiet, that's a lot. That's a lot to hold that space. We're not accustomed to it, even in terms of media and all sorts of voices around us, right? When you're really quiet and in your own energy, that's tough to sustain if you're not comfortable doing that. Things are going to come up.
Yeah, that's really true. And I actually, one of the first things I talk about sometimes when people are just starting, I say gather like I call the first chapter gathering the mind, where
Mm.
you just like prepare yourself for start doing some meditation, some body movement, some tai chi, something to deal with the energy that's going to come to you when because you just have time. The amount of time that we use to go and get the food, prepare the food, eat the food, clean up after the food is a lot. And when you do a fast and you have, okay, you're fasting on your own plasma, so there's like all of that going on, but then you have all this actual time on your hands, and it's just that energy plus that big amount of time. You really need to have something to ground yourself, to be grounded. Otherwise, you just it's too, like you say, it's a lot.
That's absolutely true. And the biggest thing that I've learned for myself, because I'm a writer, so I look at it as like this spectrum and this seesaw of consuming and creating. And when you're
Mm,
not consuming, if I'm creating, everything's all good. If
right.
that flow is going. But if I'm being idle with my time, to your point, and I'm looking to fill it with something, then the head games start and that's when you're getting into disastrous binge territory. Um,
Yeah.
but if I can keep my mind flowing and creative, then that process is so much smoother. Everything works through that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. My partner Olivier, he also had suffered from insomnia before Shivambu, and he's also a writer. Well, he's a programmer, so it's like, yeah, you need like that clarity so that you can sit down and be creative and be clear and the time to do it. It's just like there's no more looking for the time to have your creative outlet. Like you definitely have the time.
Yeah.
So good for people
You,
with hobbies.
yeah, great for people with hobbies. Get a few more.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty wild. Marilyn was saying that this is true. Hey, the parasites that crave the food. It's the parasites that crave the food.
Yeah, or they
Yeah.
crave, I don't know what they crave. Maybe the waste, the byproduct from it. I don't know what exactly, because my thoughts on this, because there is, I'm sure, not to presume, but you're probably on the same page in terms of, germ theory and that kind
Yes.
of thing. Um, so, there's a weird thing going on where the parasites I align with people in the terrain school of thought where these things are probably, manifesting to clean up a bad terrain and whatever, deal with metals and plastics and who knows what we have in our guts at this point. But I actually think that with this, in terms of the craving, those quote unquote parasites are more like antennas for more kind of like spiritual, ethereal kind of
Mm.
parasites than I think we kind of get into a trap in thinking about them physically, where it's where I think more about it as the danger is in the terrain, which is a kind of, I don't know, antenna, like almost like this waste filled mucousy terrain alters the resonance of your biofield to the point where you can now ping more spiritual parasites,
Mm.
and not to fall into the trap of like I need to get rid of these hookworms in my gut. But it's
Right.
more, there's a lot more going on to it, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. I
So it's
agree.
like yes to that comment, but there's a lot of nuance in the, I think we're just starting to learn about how that's actually occurring.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because the
I would
craving's a
agree.
thought, it's a thought form, right? And then,
Right.
those thoughts are coming from where?
Yeah.
Different quote unquote locations, or entities, or I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Hmm. Anyway, interesting. I can't wait. Every year seems to unfold, something new seems to come as you go along on this journey.
Every
It's
day.
crazy to me to see people fall off it. I'm like, what do you mean you used to?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand that too, I guess.
Well, it's
But this
probably
is
they too much, for the
yeah.
too much information coming back. And they need a break
Yeah.
to to for the hardware to be able to sustain that information coming in, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely like I definitely believe that parasites actually like the physical exist, but I do believe it's also more than just as our bodies are more than just physical. So the like the spiritual parasites, let's call them.
Yeah. And I just don't know
Definitely.
what to call, like, for example, I've gotten out, like huge ropes of plaque, right? And then like also like dozens and dozens of these things that look like worms, and we can call them worms for the sake of the ease of
Sure.
having a conversation about it. But I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know. And I've also like passed huge mucoid plaque ropes, so called, and pulled them apart and dissected them. And there's like this pattern of like the smaller quote unquote worms I was seeing look like they have woven themselves together to make this like super this
Wow.
super worm thing. And it's but is what do we, I don't know, like I think we can just get trapped with labeling these things like, is
Yes,
this a
I
thing that
agree.
has eyes and a consciousness? And I have no idea. But
Right.
I'm glad it's not in my bowels anymore. That's
No
where, yeah,
doubt. Hey,
yeah.
when I did one of my long plasma fasts, I couldn't believe the stuff that was coming out of me. Like a week later, over a week later, like that 9 days plasma only, I was just like, more? Like,
Oh, more
wow.
backlog. We got
I know,
plenty. We got
right?
plenty to undo. It's still
I like
coming.
how Dr. Group calls it, like when if you undid your intestinal tract and like spread it out and swept it, like that kind of just that visual of just sweeping the dust off of it. And you would end up with like this huge pile of stuff, right? Because it's
Yeah,
so
pounds and pounds of whatever it is.
caught in all the cracks and just like whatever. I mean, wow. And
Yeah.
who was it? Chris Manley, one of the guys in his group, pooped out a crayon from probably when he was a kid. He ate the crayon and it was still in his intestinal tract, like intact, this crayon for like decades. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was reading a book. I forget the exact title, but it was something bowel management. It's by this guy, Dr. Bernard Jensen. It was written in the 80s. Um,
I have this book.
yeah, and he was finding 40 pounds of waste in people's colon in the 80s. So, that's before Wendy's invented the Baconator.
Yeah.
So now I don't know how many pounds are in some of these people's intestines. Maybe over 100. I don't,
It's really a
it's
testament
not
to
a
the
fact.
what the human body can endure. Like some of these people, it's just amazing. Like that it can handle all of that and still semi-function.
Yeah, I mean, here in
But
the States, there's a TV show called My 600 Pound Life. And so I can estimate without much exaggeration that maybe 150 pounds are in the intestines.
yeah, and the food eating contests,
Uh,
those are just wild. Like,
that's how America celebrates our independence with the 4th of July. We celebrate by dunking hot dogs in water. That's just where we're at. So we have a lot to unlearn here.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, one of the kind of like I don't want to. It's a there is like some part of me that oh maybe I shouldn't say it, but now I've already said that much. But some of my some of the people that are close to me in my family that resist this, I'm just like, oh, please. But
Yeah. It just doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
yeah,
Maybe, I don't know. Some people just, they're not going to get on board this time around. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. And when I first learned about it, I was really like, I didn't have like there was some resistance there, but there wasn't a lot. But I was more like really fascinated and curious and like stunned at like the evidence, like that there was so much actual evidence and there were so many people that with their own stories about this and how they looked so good. And I was just like, okay, when I went to tell some of the people closest to me about it, I was super enthusiastic. Like I didn't think that I wasn't ready for the pushback because I just didn't even think it was going to be there. So that really threw me off my game. And I kind of, yeah, it kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Anyway,
important. It's important for us to kind of hold that space and not let the opinions kind of slide you back into the worldly thinking, back to the norm. Um, yeah, that's also a tricky thing to deal with.
yeah.
Um,
So that
but
first
the
year was sort of like a regrouping for myself. I was like, okay, we have to approach this in a different way.
Yeah, I'm with you though, and
And
I'm surprised that how could you not be curious about it? Like I don't understand why people. I don't know. I guess that's something that you and I probably have in common and have been blessed with is like I'm cool with being malleable and
yeah,
just fine. We're going with it. This is this is the new
yeah,
reality now. Like all right, let's roll with it.
yeah,
Like I'll adapt.
yeah. I love change. I'm
Yeah,
not afraid of it. I like it. And I love new things. Well, I like change. So I love new things. And then, yeah, the whole terrain and contagion myth. When that first phrase came into my awareness, I'm like, contagion myth. I'm like, I didn't know there was, I thought this was like a confirmed thing, What do you mean myth?
Yeah, there's a bunch of these things that
And then when
are
I read
so
that book, I
confirmed.
was
Oh,
like,
sorry.
okay, now we're really, now we've really uncovered something here. And that was another thing I came to my family with. And I was like, with really joyful energy. And they were like, no, 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 the contagion's real.
I know, it's like you're giving them an option,
Anyway,
like,
whatever.
hey, we don't have to. Here's an option to not be in fear about
Right.
a invisible thing that flies up your nose. And like, no, we're
Yeah.
gonna stay. We're gonna keep rolling with that.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it never made sense to me either. Like when you actually sit back and you think about it, I'm like, well, how are we all still here?
yeah,
If like that's true, then there would be like I just how would it how would that even work on the subway with a piece of paper over your face? How does that
yeah. None of
even
it makes any sense once you start. Oh, yeah. And it's weird, like that's one of those things where you, like you had mentioned, you thought it was confirmed. Like it's one of those things that has been confirmed in our consciousness for so long that we haven't even realized that there nothing established it in the first place. Like you were just
right?
taught like about cooties when you were a kid, or you have to wash your hands before you eat, and it's like
Yeah.
these things that we just accept because they've just been here,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
actually haven't been act like
It's
there's no
just
good
a
evidence for it.
theory. I'm like,
Yeah,
right, theory. They're even telling us, okay, this is
yeah,
just like one possibility. We're not sure.
yeah. And there's so many like actual studies of like during the 1918 flu of like they're getting people together to sneeze in each other's faces, and like it's just crazy. It's all nonsense.
Yeah. Pretty wild. Yeah, it was super liberating. That whole experience. So everything came to me all at the same time, like all
Yeah,
of
me
the
too.
terrain, all of it, the globe model, the plasma, the all of it. It was like this avalanche of information. So the first year for me was really like a mix between like this euphoria of this beautiful discovery or these beautiful discoveries and like a little bit of heartbreak because I knew that this was going to make some space between me and my family and people close to me that weren't able to sort of go at my pace in a way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that. I mean, I was not immune to the friends and family thinking I'm insane. But the kind of irony of it is that, people can't go at your pace, and if they engage with their own water, they have no choice but to go at their own pace that's comfortable with
Right.
them. Um, so yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really a personal journey and a personal experience in the most intimate way. Like, how much more intimate can you get than engaging with your plasma, like with yourself? That's like
no,
a
and
whole new
and to
level.
reap the rewards of getting to know yourself, and getting to love yourself in a way that you have never before.
I'm just gonna put, yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna pop up this because from Lucy here, just thinking out loud here. If it's the parasites craving food, why is it that we're the ones feeling the pain of craving?
So, I mean,
Yeah,
just the way that's worded,
interesting.
that sounds like you're talking about like the physical pain of your organs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know, these are all kind of theories, but, I've heard the idea that um, when you're fasting and you hear those kind of grumblings and stuff, those are actually your organs kind of restoring and going back into form from being bulged out, like we were talking about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know, maybe the pain's not so bad, or maybe you just you have to go
Yeah.
through it, or this is where we're kind of getting at where you learn um, your own little tricks to stay on course in the long run, meaning
Mm-hmm.
have have celery juice so that you don't binge on salt right now, and these kinds of things. So when you're feeling those cravings, even like if you have those cravings and you that pain of that
Oop.
emptiness, chugging a mason jar full of urine is literally going to fill your stomach up. And then that's a huge hack right there, because now it's almost like, if we think about it in terms of like conceptually what we were talking about, like the quietness and the space, and like now yours, the space, for example, you let out a huge rope, something's got to fill that space now. So
Mm,
fill it up, fill it up with things that are going to keep you on track. Um,
right.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think it's also like the stomach coming into like trying to come back into like that gurgling sound. I think it's also partially the stomach coming back into its normal
size
size
and shape. Yeah,
and just getting its rebalancing its own juices that are in there. And God, who knows what's going on inside there.
yeah.
But yeah, the hunger pains, they don't, I think it's more like a mental thing, like a we've associated it like that your stomach growls so you're hungry, and we've repeated that so many times that it's just become what we've just associated that with that. But it might, I don't really think there's any relation there actually.
Yeah, and to like
Well,
to oh, go
not
ahead.
not as much as we think there is.
Sorry, we're on a big delay. I keep cutting you off.
Oh no, it's okay. It's me too. But
But
yeah.
the gurgling, and yeah, it's to your point. There's also, it's a mental thing. It's also belief. Like our beliefs really shape the reality that we're engaging with, and so, and it takes a little bit for you to completely embody the belief, like the idea that you don't need any external energy source is something that, for at least for me, became head knowledge that makes sense, but it's still in the process of fully getting integrated. So that's kind of those like hunger pains, is kind of like you're thinking, hunger pain, I need this other
Ah,
thing.
right.
But
Yeah, I got you. I get you.
yeah,
Good point.
you really have
Yeah.
to embody over time the idea, oh, I really don't need anything outside of myself, and I am generating energy, and that outside thing is actually dampening my energy. It
Yeah.
takes a while to really step into that, from head knowledge to this is my reality now. um,
Yeah. And
yeah,
it's fun. It's interesting when you say outside things to like for the hunger, like something from the outside in. Like like I used to think that was food. Like when you first started saying that, I remembered, oh yeah, that my old self would have thought food, but my first thought, well, I'm like the outside thing that I need, the outside thing that the only, well, one of the, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's the sun.
mm,
That's the outside. That's the thing out there that I need to go and get into my body from the outside, like the sun. That would be one of the few things that, yeah, the
yeah, for sure,
energy
for
that
sure.
that's it's like a tree needs to be out in the sun. Like we need that. We need to be out in that. Like it's
Yeah, and that kind of gets into like the idea of, just looking at all of these things that we consume on a spectrum of, what is food. We need to loosen the definitions on these things. Like the sun,
yeah,
being out in the sun can be food.
yeah,
Laughing with your friends can be food. Like you think about when you're a
absolutely.
child and you're out playing, and you didn't think about food for 10 hours. It just didn't come into your mind because you were being fueled by whatever we want to call this life force
Yeah,
that's
that
moving through everything.
exactly that joy and all that energy that's around you when you're a kid and your friends and you're playing and it's like energizing. And then
Music
you're
is
in
food.
nature usually and you got like the all of that around you and the sun and it's like yeah, you're like a plant
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
picking up all of that rays and energy.
Yeah, all the
Totally. That's
frequencies. Yeah.
mostly the stuff people put in their bodies is like a strain on the body to deal with, to have to deal with all of this processed chemicals and stuff like that. And the amount of actual functional nutrition that people get out of that is negligible, actually. It's
Yeah, yeah.
It
And
makes you wonder what everybody's running on.
debt, chronic debt. Yeah.
No doubt. Okay, one last question here, and then we should wrap it up because we're already over an hour, and I want you to come back on again. Liver flushes. Do you guys ever do flushes? Have you ever done a liver flush per se?
So I have done liver flushes, but I was fortunate enough to skip over the one I think she's referencing, which, from what I understand, is quite, I don't know, intense because you have to chug a bunch of salt and stuff. So
Oh,
it's pretty abrasive. Um, and so I've done other types of liver flushes, like loosening stones with urine and with a bunch of apple juice and that kind of stuff, and then chugging oil to kind of like dump it out. Um, but I've
so how do
avoided
you
that
like?
that one in particular that she's talking about.
Okay, when you do a liver flush, um, how long do you do a liver? How long is that process? Is it like a 1 day liver flush thing, or like
Yeah, but
how?
I try to like probably similar to you. I try to maximize and kind of get intense and creative with it. So like there's been times where I've um, fasted on urine to kind of clear the pump, and then did a period on just apples because I think the theory with that is there's certain enzymes and like malic acid in apples in particular that will loosen uh, gallstones and liver stones so that they're easier to pass.
Yeah.
Um,
Would apple cider vinegar
I believe
function like
people
that as
also
well?
use apple cider vinegar. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the exact kind of quantities or anything like that, but yeah, people can
Right.
kind of follow that trail. Um,
Yeah.
and then
And then how much oil do you consume? Like your like say avocado oil, for example. Have you ever used that on a
I
liver
did, yeah, I
flush?
did like shots of oil. I'd have to look up what the exact protocol was, but it was like I don't know, it wasn't a ton. It was, I don't know, maybe like 8 ounces or something
Oh, okay.
of oil. And then the theory behind that is it kind of like forces the liver to kind of open the ducts and dump everything out. And then if things were loosened from fasting from apples, it kind of makes the process easier.
Right.
Um,
Cool.
so I've done liver cleanses with that intention, but not the Moritz one that she's referencing. From what I understand, that
I
one.
actually have never heard of that one. Like the and I don't know who that person is at all. Actually, I never heard of that. And I wouldn't do the salt thing
I
now.
think
No,
that's that
I would just
someone
not.
can correct me if I'm wrong, but that I think that
But
one she's referencing is like chugging salt water, which sounds
yeah, I
pretty
did that
awful.
once. That was my first fast was the master cleanse, like that lemonade diet
Yeah,
thing. That was
maple
my first
syrup.
introduction to it. Yeah. And I did the salt water flush um, a few times in that, but that was rough
That's what
to
I
start
mean.
with.
Yeah, yeah,
Like really, whew, really rough. Like the plasma, the urine enemas, and drinking, and how that elimination it felt way. That's I just the salt was whoa, too. I would never do it again. Well, for a lot of reasons, but just for comfort alone, it's the Shivambu is already light years ahead, I think.
agreed.
Anyway, okay. And okay. So now I want to, if people want to get a hold of, um, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. All right, here we go. Don't slap snooze.net. That's where people can get a hold of you. And what do you want to share just a little bit of what you do and what you're up to for people?
Yeah, so I put content on that site there. That's kind of it's kind of a hybrid between like a lecture or a presentation and stand-up comedy. So it's comedy material that's about all sorts of subjects, about viruses, about chemtrails, about voting and government, and all different kinds of stuff. So each video is its own subject, and there's so it's kind of jokes for people who talk about the things we talk about, right? And I have a book that's available for pre-order that's on there that's about bowel cleansing. which touches on some
Oh,
of the stuff we were talking about, and urine and that kind of
cool.
stuff, and enemas and stuff. So people can check that out. And then yeah, it's just kind of comedy writing that's on there.
Fun. Nice. I like that. And if anybody would like to come on and share their experiences of Shivambu, you can contact me through my website. And we have a Telegram group called Mother Spirit where we discuss Shivambu and astrology and many other things. If people want to be a part of that community, they can find that through there. So thanks so much for making time to join me here today, Mike. I really appreciate it, and I love your humor that you bring to this subject, but also your seriousness and your depth of 5 years of knowledge that you bring along with all of that. So, thank you so much.
The respect is mutual. I appreciate you as well.
Okay, we'll see you all next time. Thanks,
Peace, guys.
everybody.